Welcome in, Monday edition Oxford Exxon Podcast. Chase Parham, Neal, McCready, Clark Ford Studio here with you this morning. We'll talk to Jared Ivey, Ole Miss defensive end on today's show. He's got a camp coming up. We hit that as well as some other topics related to last season, this season, and more. So talk to Jared here in a bit on the show. Then just kind of recap the weekend, finalize the college baseball season. Ole Miss obviously finished that on Friday, losing to Alabama in a doubleheader to end the season 6-24. We've talked about it on the message board. Be much more in story form, but with that and some national topics moving ahead as well. So again, the podcast brought to you every single day by the Oxford Exxon, Highway 6 West in Oxford. Blue sky location here. You know about the ribs, you know about the lunch specials. They change every day, but every day, $5.69, a couple sides, bread, any size fountain drink there for you with the Oxford Exxon. They can take care of dinner tonight. If you call ahead, they'll even take the ribs, wrap them up, have them ready to go, wet or dry if you're choosing. And you can get dinner easily through the Blue Sky location here. They've got the fresh donuts, homemade every morning in Brookhaven and Clinton. So if you're in those two areas, stop in, try the donuts. You'll love them. And there'll be more locations for those as time moves forward as well. And again, coming to you from the Clark Ford Studio.
We are Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi. 662-257-1900 is that number. Call it. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. It's right to the bottom line. There's no hassle. There's no haggle. You get your quote, and the rest is up to you. You can shop that quote around. You can do what I've done, what I recommend that you do, and that's hop into a Clark Ford today. 662-257-1900. Jared Ivey and other guests join on the MyPerfectFranchise.net hotline. Are you a displaced corporate executive? Are you wanting to put your career in your own hands? Are you an experienced entrepreneur looking to diversify? Either way, Andy Ludicky can help. He owns multiple franchises and businesses and uses his expertise to help others find their American dream through a very thorough and free consultation process. So call Andy, put your life and your career in your own hands. It's 100% free, so you have nothing to lose. Find your perfect franchise at myperfectfranchise.net or contact Andy anytime at andy@myperfectfranchise.net or 404-973-9901.
You don't necessarily think of college baseball being a home away kind of sport, but I was looking at the standings a second ago just to kind of go over for a minute at some point today if we were going to do that. And only two teams in the league, and this isn't in the league, this is overall, have winning road records.
Oh.
It's kind of surprising. I would not have thought that going in, that the dispersions would have been so much. LSU went 12-5 on the road, and Florida went 11-7. No one else in the SEC had a winning record on the road.
That's interesting.
For the year. Yeah.
That's interesting.
I never would have thought that. Florida and Arkansas share the SEC title. Yes, they both get trophies. One is just the number one seed in the tournament. That is Florida here starting on Tuesday in Hoover, Alabama. Ole Miss and State, the two teams not headed to suburban Birmingham. That ended with Georgia's win over LSU on Saturday.
From listening to and reading comments from both Florida and Arkansas, I think both would love to be back in their respective locales as early as humanly possible.
Thursday sounds great. That's as you wrote, though, I don't know if Florida offensively, if you can just get them twice in a row like that, if they even show up.
Right.
I think that is tougher to do.
I do think the lesser used portion of the Gators bullpen is going to get quite a bit of work.
Some of those dudes that just couldn't quite get in. You know what? Your ball.
Yeah.
Here, have at it.
You've been saying you want the ball? Here it is.
Get the ball. Yeah, no, it's
Arkansas, on the other hand, I think
they might be home on Thursday.
They will come as close to throwing games as one can come. I think if you told Dave Van Horn they're still there on Saturday, he would be depressed. No interest. I mean, he's all but admitted we're not pitching anybody. Anybody who's kind of hurt, they're not playing.
You know, we've always done this running joke thing with South Carolina and Hoover, and they, you know, I mean, they're kind of in a weird spot because they were so hot early and they've kind of cooled off and whatever. Since 2005, so we're talking almost 2 decades. South Carolina and Hoover, 12-30.
I'm surprised they've won 12.
12-30. That includes 2 national championships and a runner-up finish, by the way.
I mean,
12-30.
I know we're not going to spend much time on it this week because Ole Miss isn't there, but there's not a lot of teams there with anything to do.
No, I mean,
a couple of teams where they wouldn't mind getting somebody.
I'm looking.
Well,
Okay. South Carolina 16-13. I guess if they got hot, they could host.
have to probably get really hot.
And I don't know what their RPI is. Frankly, they might could host right now because they're not 16-14. They're 16-13. Maybe. I don't know. They're iffy on maybe a host. I don't see Kentucky and Tennessee are weird samples there. I think Auburn's hosting 17-13. They've won at least 6 in a row. I don't know what they've done before that. I think they've won 6 series in a row.
I think that's right.
After starting off, Alabama clearly in the tournament, 16-14.
But they're not hosting, so they're going to go someplace as a damn good 2.
Yeah, they wouldn't be the best.
I guess
you would
A&M probably doesn't want a quick exit.
They're 14-16.
But
it's always iffy.
Yeah,
it's always iffy.
They're probably in somewhere as the 3.
I tell you, I don't know. A&M's RPI is 34. That's bubbly as all hell. Actually, the A&M needs to win a game.
Yeah, maybe so.
They're almost identical to what Ole Miss was dealing with last year.
They play Tennessee?
I don't even know. I haven't looked at the schedule.
I think that's right.
I don't know. South Carolina's RPI is 6. They're hosting 16-13 with a 6. You're hosting. They're in.
So they're better off just going home.
Here's a question: is Kentucky hosting at 16-14 with the number 2 RPI in the country?
Yeah,
they'll get the 16-14 host.
Yeah.
Tennessee, do they host at 16-14 with a 16 RPI?
Probably not.
Could they win their way in?
Maybe.
So Tennessee might be one of those because I'm not going to pull up the spreadsheets because it doesn't matter for Ole Miss. If you get to certain numbers with total wins, there is a really good history to host. It's the weird thing about this. You can't really play your way into an at-large in Hoover, but you can play your way into a host in Hoover. Those are 2 different conversations based off overall wins for the most part. Georgia clearly out, Missouri clearly out, even though they're in Hoover. They're not making the tournament unless they go and win the entire SEC tournament at this point. Vanderbilt has had a weird deal where you watch them every week and you're not overly impressed, and yet they went 19-11 and missed winning the league by 1 game. It's a strange team.
They have a bunch of arms.
Mm-hmm.
Their deal will be totally draw dependent in the tournament, but they'll host. They'll probably get to a super, and then we'll see. I'm not sure they've got the pitching to win a super regional.
Arkansas, LSU have top 8s locked. Florida has a top 8 lock
for sure, and
Vanderbilt's fringy. Even though South Carolina and Kentucky with those gaudy RPIs, I still don't think they're top 8 at 16-13, 16-14. I know conference record's not supposed to matter, but Hoover might kind of be a deal there. So anyway, I don't know. That's not really necessarily where I was starting today, but there we are with that. I will say this, and we'll get off baseball for the day because, like I said, I'm gonna write about it as the week goes on. A couple dates to know: the portal opens May 29th. So 1 week from today is when the transfer portal gets going. I think the assistants hitting the road this week. Mike did all exit interviews Saturday and Sunday. Went ahead and got those out of the way. I think several players, frankly, have been told they're not coming back next season. I'd like one more source before I just report that on a couple, but I do think there is a good bit of movement from that standpoint as far as clearing space, looking at how guys are developing, and then making decisions based off that. That's just where college baseball is in 2023. But I thought that it's something you don't always see. And I'm going to give Mike a little credit here. Now, in saying that, let me start with this. That doesn't absolve him of the season. He just had a really, really bad season. He's got to fix it next year. And it's what we're going to talk about and we're going to write about for a long time, or at least the next month, is history indicative of what is possible moving forward for Ole Miss? Or are they in a portal era and an NIL era where we don't know? And it's completely new and foreign, and you will see what goes on this thing. But from a speaking to fan base standpoint, Mike did this on the radio and did it with us. He said, "I'm sorry." And I thought, not every coach does that. Not every coach goes out of their way, understands everybody's frustration, and doesn't put it off on just everything else. There is something to owning it, saying, hey, it's not just injuries. It's a lot of stuff. We've all got to get better. We know you're disappointed. We know I'm disappointed. I'm sorry. Okay. It helps nothing. It's not giving him a gold star. But I feel like it's one of those things where I do still like sometimes we criticize a lot of coaches who never take the ownership and on themselves. Right. So if you're going to do that, you have to at least point out when someone does.
Sure.
I think that's relevant as I was listening to the press conference. Now, in saying that, that does you no hill of beans whatsoever moving forward.
No, and I mean,
It doesn't.
No,
No.
It doesn't. I don't know that Mike owed the fan base an apology. That's just my opinion.
No, it's just understanding you're frustrated. I get it.
Yeah. I suspect he's more frustrated than they are.
I'm sure.
They were able to sometimes turn it off or pour another beer. He had to sit in the dugout and watch it. Imagine he's
all 9 innings every time.
I bet he's quite a bit more frustrated than
Joe from Water Valley.
Yeah. So, I get it. Look, I wrote this in 10 thoughts. You've kind of referenced it. I'm fascinated because I think they have a lot of holes. I'm not nearly as sourced in college baseball as you are, but I've talked to some people who believe that the transfer portal prices are going to be higher this year. In general.
Just because more teams are involved. Last year, so few teams were actually involved at a high level.
And kids are going to hold out for more money. And I'm not saying Ole Miss doesn't have it. I'm not saying anyone doesn't have it. But at some point, you run out of money.
Yeah.
Just
sure
by nature. And these are going to be interesting times because there's more competition. The market, kind of like Chris Beard said last week, the market really hasn't been established. And now there's going to be more kids get in the portal to test it, more schools in the portal, at least playing with the idea of playing in it.
Probably more kids you have to pay on your own roster to make them not jump in it.
Yeah. And then a school like Ole Miss this year, a team like Ole Miss, I should say, has a lot of holes.
Size Ben says, Joe from Water Valley is the lead singer of Joe Austin and the Tallahassees. Be careful. I apologize. I'm aware of Joe Austin and the Tallahassees. Good band. So, yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize for that potential intimation there. We'll see. It's really intriguing. Me as just sort of a nerd on whatever the budget is, whether it's low, high, or in the middle for Ole Miss baseball, how they decide to go about it. Do you try to grab a bunch of depth and a bunch of guys that can help and just go crazy, or do you spend it a little more on a couple of elite people, knowing that comes out of the bottom half somehow? I mean, I don't know. I mean, and I don't think they know yet because you don't know what everybody's going to ask for. No. You're tampering, you're figuring out who's going in the portal, you're getting an idea, but the full picture is not known here on May 22nd. At all, especially in baseball.
And a kid who might intend to get in the portal on May the 22nd might not get in on May the 29th. They might get it worked out.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Because sometimes the tampering leads to a conversation, which leads to it getting done.
I would be blown away if Dan McDonnell went to Alabama. That would shock me beyond shock. I do think Dan McDonnell was looking around and will take a good job if it is coming. That's why I thought that Ole Miss was in play for him the last 2 seasons to whatever extent over previous seasons. But Alabama's not about to go pay $1.4 million to a baseball coach. They're just not.
I don't think so.
So I don't think that makes a lot of sense. Mark, if you're going to do Mississippi State area golf courses, go to Waverly or Mossy Oak and West Point. Don't go to Starkville. You can get on either one, frankly, with the right situation. Okay. Anyway, I don't think Butch is going to Alabama either. It's a better job where he's at.
Yeah, for sure.
He's getting paid over $1 million. He's going to host.
He's done a hell of a job. As usual. He's a really good coach.
They had one crappy year.
That's the other thing about the league, is that the league's full of good coaches. It's full of good programs. I know that the Ole Miss fan out there doesn't want to acknowledge that I don't mean this in a negative way. This applies everywhere. There's a lot of good coaches in the league. A lot of really good programs in the league. A lot of programs that are going to be super competitive, that are going to be good too. When you lose the league by 14 games, you're way behind.
You went 1-5 against Alabama and Missouri, the 2 programs that care the least in the SEC.
Right.
That is even. It's not like you just got beat up by Florida and you go, okay, hell, okay.
The one good thing when you go as bad as they did, you have no alternative but to soul search. There's no
every facet.
If just one thing, no. If just one thing, if Hunter Elliott had been healthy all year, would you be 6-24? No. Would you be 20-10? No.
No, of course not.
You had issues.
Stories up on the site. Ole Miss picking up a couple commits over the last few days. They get Rivals 250 defensive tackle Cameron Beavers. They're an in-state prospect, and then that comes on the heels of James Madison defensive end Isaac Ukwu also choosing Ole Miss. He did that over Missouri and Auburn. Obviously, good bit of talk about that on the site, Neal, but two pretty decent pickups in your opinion.
Yeah, Ukwu's a immediate guy. He's got 1 year of eligibility.
Also, a really mature kid from just an age standpoint. I mean, he was a college freshman in 2017.
Yeah, gives him some depth up front at the least. He's and perhaps a impactful defensive end who can rush the passer. And then Cameron Beavers is part of a really talented defensive line class in 2024 in Mississippi that Ole Miss is trying to get as many of them as is humanly possible.
All of them.
And he can't sign until December, so I'm sure there will be some drama between now and then, but at the very least, Ole Miss is way ahead. And I'm not minimizing it. I think we've all learned with recruiting now that you have to be a little careful with.
You looking at something?
Well, I was reading that. I was trying to figure out what he was saying, but I got it. Yeah, I mean it's big. I mean they're recruiting pretty well. Not pretty well. They're recruiting really well at the high school level. They've still got some big guys that are out there that it's kind of fascinating to watch. On one hand, you and I were talking about this before, other than Colorado, I don't know that any program has as much portal activity over the last year as Ole Miss. There are some that are close, but I think Ole Miss is right there. And then on the other hand, I guess you're running out of hands. On the other hand, they seem to be more active in high school recruiting this time around, which makes me wonder if, it just took a while to get the momentum to recruit these kinds of players, or if it's this portal thing is not sustainable like this, we've got to do a different way, or if it's some combination thereof.
Or if it's indicative of, hey, you got to build a little more of a program. This is a multi-year process right now.
Could be. Yeah.
There's a lot of things that maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean,
sounds good.
He's probably not going to open up and tell us all, but there's probably some truth in all of that. Took a minute to kind of get the momentum. I think they're in pretty good shape from a pay-for-play standpoint as it pertains to the teams they compete against outside of, the biggest of the big boys. So
8 commitments right now for the 2024 class.
A lot of 4-star guys.
5 of the 8 4-star guys right now.
Yeah.
Sorry, 4 of the 8. Half of them. Beavers, Rush, Davis, Williams, Fred Clark, Jeremy Scott, Raymond Collins, Patrick Broomfield, rounding out the list there. 2 5.7s, which I think is the most underrated number in Rivals recruiting. They're really, really good 5.7 threes that sort of get lost because they have a 3 next to their name.
I would expect some June commitments. I don't know of any that are coming. I mean, I just know they have those Friday night lights things that everybody has. They have those. And then they'll shut it down a little bit till July. And then from a commitment standpoint, I suspect it will slow down some until the end of the football season. And then we'll see what happens. Someone says in the thread, it's the landscape in recruiting has changed so dramatically that you just have to kind of take the commitment and go, hey, that means they're ahead.
Yeah, what does the commitment lead? It means they're the firm leader right now.
That's what it means. They're in really good shape today. I'm not. I mean, most of the kids will stick with their commitment, but it's just the landscape's just so wildly different than it was 4 years ago.
You'd rather have it than not have it.
Sure.
It is harder to tell someone no once you're committed.
Yeah,
but not impossible.
Yeah, he's a good player. Mm-hmm. He's a really good player. He's a really big kid. Beavers is, and Pete Golding's done a really good job inside the state of Mississippi, along with Derek Nix, Kelvin Bolden, those guys recruiting inside the state. They've done a really good job. They have momentum right now, traction. So we'll see.
I think, officially done from a Ole Miss athletics for the season. Ole Miss softball losing in the regional final in Utah yesterday. The Utes go 3-0 in that regional. Ole Miss beat Baylor in the first game, lost to Utah in the second, beat Baylor again to eliminate the Bears, and then lost to Utah in Game 4 for the weekend there in that one. And then I don't think women's golf made the cut at the NCAA championships, so I think it's all over at this point from a team standpoint until it gets back up in I guess August. Ole Miss hired a soccer coach from Utah Tech. That's all I got. Sorry, I know she transitioned them from D2 to D1. Seemed to do a really good job, but
I'm sure she's very good. I just don't. I know nothing about it. I didn't even know there was a Utah Tech.
I don't know that I did either. That was my response when someone goes, "Hey, what? Tell me about." I was like, dude, I'm not there yet. Sorry, I was not well versed on that search as it went. So I can't help you there. Looked like softball did have a pretty good run over the weekend. Well, I take it back. Auburn lost in the regional final. Carolina lost in the regional final. Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee for sure advanced to supers.
Did LSU advance? I was running on the treadmill and I was flipping for something, and for just a minute I watched ULL and LSU softball, and then I was like, nope, just flip.
That's not what you want to do.
So I ended up watching Braves and Mariners.
ULL defeats LSU to advance to super regionals.
Oh, how about that?
ULL's got a good softball program. They're good. ULL defeated LSU 7-4 and 9-8 at Tiger Park to advance to the super regional round. I called a minute of Georgia beating up on Virginia Tech for some reason. I guess I was watching golf, and it went off ESPN, and softball came on. So I caught that, and then I saw a little bit of Georgia, Virginia Tech, a little bit of Ole Miss, Utah, a little bit of Auburn, Clemson for some reason, and then a little bit of somebody else. But anyway, that's it. I know we're all shocked Oklahoma advanced to super regional play out of the Norman regional.
Oh, they made it?
Yeah, they made it. Yeah.
Wow, it's close there for a minute.
Missouri's death sentence was enacted over the weekend in Norman against Oklahoma. So
yeah.
Anyway, all right, let's talk Jared Ivey, Ole Miss defensive end, coming up on the podcast now. Again, he's got some news coming up, what he's working on, and then stuff about the Rebels as well. So we'll do that now on the My Perfect Franchise hotline with Ole Miss defensive end Jared Ivey.
Ole Miss defensive end Jared Ivey, kind enough to join us here on the podcast. Jared, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, it's good to have you. We'll start with your football camp. You're hosting a camp in Georgia here on Saturday, and then in Oxford, I guess about a week later than that. Go ahead and fill people in on details and how they can either join or get the young people in their lives involved.
Yeah, so we're at 10 a.m. Saturday. It's kind of a joint camp for the kids and for their moms. We're doing like an elite skills camp type situation for high schoolers at my high school, North Gwinnett in Swanee, Georgia. And then at the same time, we're taking the moms and giving them medical testing, blood sugar, mammograms, all types of sorts. We kind of want to give the moms a break and get them away from their sons and kind of take care of them. It's what we're doing at both, but in Oxford, it'll be June 3rd. Still 10 a.m., but and it's more of a fun camp, a fun day, bounce houses and all that. And this one's for all ages. So yeah, same premise, different demographic, but yeah, it's kind of more about the moms than it is the kids, I'd say.
Does it feel weird for you to go from being the guy being coached to kind of the guy holding a camp and doing coaching yourself?
A little bit, but I've been volunteering in youth stuff for a while now, so thankfully I'm a little used to it.
I guess I'm curious, what did you learn most in year one in the SEC after spending time at Georgia Tech and deciding to get in the portal I know you had an impactful season. Was it kind of what you expected in terms of the adjustment from ACC to SEC, or was that overplayed, or was it even more of a learning curve than you thought it would be?
To be honest, man, I think a lot of my teammates from Tech could have been successful in the SEC. I think the gap or whatever you want to call it is not as big as people make it out to seem. It's more of a money thing. But yeah, no, I think there were a lot of maybe bigger, stronger guys in the SEC. But as far as football goes and technique, it was a lot of things that I was able to transfer over from my game originally to my game now.
What are you trying to focus on this off season as you get ready for the 2023 season?
Yeah, my main goal this offseason just was to get more consistent in everything. With throughout spring ball was just limit errors as much as possible and limit mental errors and errors as far as assignment goes, and just stay as punctual as possible going into the season.
Who's best tackle you faced last year? Who's the most challenging guy that you faced?
Most challenging guy that I faced. I can't remember his name, but I'll give props to the right tackle from Arkansas. He was a good player.
On a night like that, you mentioned that game. I'm curious about it because I kind of have a theory that maybe 2 games got lost that night. When you fall that far behind in a game, is it hard when you start coming back and yet you realize that, hey, this is a monumental task to come back from 42-6, right? Was it difficult to put that game away, or did you find on that next Thursday against Mississippi State that you were maybe a little tired? I mean, you guys played a lot of snaps that night, especially the offensive guys, but you guys did too. Was it difficult to let that go and get ready for Mississippi State?
In my mind, I think it started a week before. Losing at LSU, I think was the week before.
Alabama, yeah.
Was it Bama? Was LSU before that?
Yeah, y'all lost to LSU, then you came back and beat Texas A&M.
LSU, A&M, Bama, Arkansas, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I think it started to go downhill a little bit after we lost to LSU because we came out. We had a really good first half. It was a super competitive game. We felt going into halftime that we were going to come out, limit mistakes, and go win that one. And to see it go sideways the way it did, seemingly out of nowhere, seemingly I don't know. We didn't feel like we came out and played any different in the second half, and things just weren't going our way. And then to come out and have a close one to A&M when we felt like, there's no reason A&M should have been in that game with us. I think morale was low. I think confidence was low. I think we masked it, but I think our flaws started to manifest themselves a lot more late in the season when we weren't playing hard enough to mask them, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? When you're rolling and you're playing hard and you're playing super hard and you're winning games, a lot of your flaws, don't matter because of, just how confident you are in your ability to get a win. And, when you lose big out of nowhere, all in a half, it can kind of derail you. And I think after playing another close one to Bama, I felt like our hopes and goals for the season kind of slipped out of our hands after that game. And the mental focus just wasn't there.
Obviously, at that same time, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this because I kind of am curious what you learned from that you'll take into this next season. But at that same time, all the stuff about Lane Kiffin and Auburn was percolating in the media. I'm sure you guys heard it. You've got social media. Was that something that got talked about in the locker room? Was it something that guys kind of whispered about? Did you think it in any way distracted you from, the task at hand in those games against, Arkansas and Mississippi State at the end of the year?
No, I don't think so. We have a player-led program, so we were going to stay focused and go to practice and try our best to lock in as much as possible. Lane was there, you know what I mean? So he's a grown man, and he's got to vet opportunities the same as anybody. And and I understand that. I think a lot of guys understood that, and he addressed it. So I really don't think that played as major of a role as people on the outside think it may have.
What did you take away from that season as you get ready for this next one? What is there a different approach that has to kind of happen inside the locker room? Obviously, you guys have a completely different schedule this year. You've got, at Alabama, LSU in the first half. You got to go to Tulane, a Tulane team that won the Cotton Bowl last year. I mean, it's a completely different structured schedule, if you will, than what you guys had a year ago.
Right. I think just how heavy mistakes are, man. How heavy mistakes are, and how close the top is, right? It's not like Bama or LSU and Texas A&M and Arkansas are teams that are so separate going into the year. We saw, especially with Bama, they had very extremely close games, starting the season off with close games with Texas A&M. So just winning those big close games, it changes it changes the public's media on you. A lot of people don't watch all these games. They check the scoreboard. I would even say a lot of, I don't know, but maybe a lot of committee people don't fully watch these games. And scores mean a lot to them. Scores and history mean a lot to them. So, when you lose close ones, it people aren't taking into account your strength of loss, I guess, people are calling it now. So it's really important to stick it out and win those close games, because we lost 5, but one loss could surely do it too.
How different is the defense with Pete Golding as the defensive coordinator than the one that you operated in last year with under Partridge?
I think it suits our guys a lot more. I know shade the coach Partridge's defense at all, because I like this defense. But yeah, we were running a little bit of everything last year. We're running a little bit of everything this year. I think just our base stuff is kind of more fitting for our personnel.
Was it weird going against your former teammates when you played against Georgia Tech? I know we talked to you that week before the game, and you were open about, hey, I don't really know what it's going to be like, and that kind of thing. What was it like on the field going against, guys that are your friends, that were your teammates, that done those early morning workouts with, and all that stuff that creates the bonds that teammates have?
It was definitely weird, and there were definitely a couple plays where I remember, I think somewhere in the second half, it was a long drive, maybe 7-8 plays in a row. And I get up and I look at Jordan. I'm just like, man, I'm so tired, bro. He look at me, he breathing hard, hands on hips. He like, I'm tired too. And but once, after subtle little nuances and eye contact like that, when you start playing, you hardly even notice. All the guys blur together and they just become offensive linemen and quarterbacks and receivers at a certain point, if you are able to focus.
When they had the coaching change and all that stuff happen at Georgia Tech in the weeks after they lost to you guys, did you kind of catch yourself feeling bad for those guys? Did you follow that story much?
I don't know about, they went through what they went through. Coach Collins and the athletic staff over there had to make decisions, and I'm not a part of that. And I don't pull strings, and I'm not going to say it was, if I stayed, we would have beat Ole Miss and, this or that. So, I wish the best for those guys. And I hope guys that left after or just before can find opportunities elsewhere. I hope coaches can find opportunities elsewhere. Those are at the end of the day still, my guys, and I spent time and have memories with them. So, I just wish the best for those guys.
I'm curious. You're a really smart guy, very articulate. So I'm going to throw this at you because fans talk about this a lot, and you're in the middle of it right now. Um, the transfer portal, the immediate eligibility, the NIL, all that stuff is inside a program. Is this going the way that kind of you as a college football player thought it would go? Is it going in a way that, in your opinion, is sustainable? Does this work? Or are there some things that need to be amended, or kind of just what are your thoughts on the whole state of the college game today from a guy that's inside a Power 5 program?
Um, I think there's good aspects, bad aspects, as there is with anything. I think it's a lot more fair than it was 10 years ago when your best players are just getting paid and only the people on the team know, and it's only one or two guys and they're making a lot of money. I think it's a lot better than that. I think the majority of Power 5 teams in this country have the capacity to play a substantial percentage of their players. And I think we're moving to a day where they do, and they don't hold back in what they do. I mean, I have friends who are on teams where nobody's getting paid and their coaches shun NIL, and I feel like they take a more of a scared approach, and I'm thankful for, I'm thankful for Lane kind of embracing it and using it to his advantage. I mean, the rule has been made, right? There is no looking back, right? So you stay in the past and you lose prospects, or you adapt, use this to your advantage, pay kids what they've earned, and try to just stay as ethical as possible. And if you take a good mindset into it, I think I think I think NIL is profitable for the player and for the university at the same time.
Is it an issue inside locker rooms when hey, one or two guys are making a whole lot more money than maybe some other guys, and if they don't produce, is it something that pops up, or is it just, hey, this is the way it is, it's going to be this way at the NFL level? You're going to have guys that, obviously Patrick Mahomes makes a lot more money than the backup tight end for the Chiefs, right? I mean, there's differences, but is it something that comes up that you guys talk about, or is it just sort of understood this is the way it is?
It's just the way it is. I mean, you got to understand, football is just a microcosm of life. I mean, you go anywhere, you take any job, any profession, it's the same thing, right? Some people get paid more than other people. Some people provide more than other people. Some people provide less. Some people are locked in and well connected, and some people have a bigger media following. And that's one of the biggest piece that people don't understand is it's sometimes less about football and your coaches. It's not your coaches cutting you a check, right? A lot of times it's, oh, hey, this kid can promote my product the best. We'll give him a deal. And it's more promotional with company based. A lot of teams, it's not every team in the country that just has a collective where, they're pooling money statewide. A lot of teams that have multiple teams in state that just can't do that, right? Not enough booster support to do that, right? It's coming from other companies, and then on top of that, it's, like I said, it's just not the coaches' money. It's not the university's money, right? It's kids being able to earn that with play and earn that with marketability. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
How much do you try to market yourself? Because obviously you're good at this. I mean, you're good at communicating, which is, and a lot of guys don't really want to do a lot of communication type stuff. You're good at it. How much do you try to market yourself?
To be honest, I don't do much. I'm doing this camps, more for the moms and for the kids than I am for media exposure. I feel like my game can speak for itself, and when rubber hits the road, hopefully I'll be able to be successful and be just fine playing football. But for a lot of guys, this is an extremely lucrative thing. I'm a good communicator, and I appreciate that compliment. I'm not the most entertaining guy, or I'm not the funniest guy, or I'm not the most pretty boy guy that can go get on TikTok and do dances and stuff like that, right? So, you know, marketing manifests itself in different ways, if that makes sense, right? Not a lot of people maybe want to sit on a X's and O's podcast, but they will sit on let's do these skits and be funny and do that. So if that's a skill you have, I would absolutely usually use it to your advantage. As long as it doesn't distract you from the main thing.
I know you have NFL aspirations, that you're draft eligible technically this year. Is this something that you think about, that, hey, obviously every football player knows this. You put stuff on tape. Tape is tape. This is a big year of tape for you potentially. Is that something that you have to, that you embrace, or is that something you just try to not think about as you get ready to play?
I mean, well, yeah, that's definitely something I embrace, and use as one of my motivations. This is a childhood goal. This is a lifelong goal, and to not use it to push myself would, it would be, yeah, you might as well change the energy from anxiousness and nervousness into excitement. And I try to take that mindset into every workout. I try to go every rep like it's my last rep in college, like this is the rep the scouts are watching. I don't think pressure is the right word, but either way, pressure forms diamonds. So I'm definitely taking my goals and aspirations with me throughout life, and hoping that I can kind of transform that stigma behind pressure into greatness.
Did you watch the draft a little bit this year, thinking, hey, this could be me this time 12 months from now?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of my guys, my childhood guys, got drafted. Josh Downs, Robert Beal, used to train with Miles Murphy. And then, Keon from Tech, and then just a lot of guys I know were drafted. And, playing around guys like that and competing with guys like that, it excites you because, not to a statement with as least hubris as possible, when you feel like you can perform at that level, yeah, it absolutely excites you, especially when I got another opportunity to go out here and prove myself another year in the SEC and try to make a bigger name for myself.
How good can you guys be on defense this year? I know that you lost some pieces. I thought Tavius Robinson had a really good year last year. He's put up a lot of numbers that have to be replaced. Are you deep enough up front? Are you good enough up front to be an SEC championship contender, in your opinion?
I believe so. I have the utmost confidence in our room. Tavius was the only guy we lost, and we were making strides last year. Like, us at the end of last year was so wildly different from us at the beginning, and we were making the plays at the beginning. So I'm super excited about what this group can do. We got a couple guys coming in, and I think they'll be able to produce and make plays right away, and complement the people we have now very well. So I'm super excited about this group and defense as a whole.
All right, if I told you that if the gods came down and said, all right, Jared, football's out. You can't play professional football, but you have 2 years, all expenses paid, total training. You get the experts in the sport. You got to pick a different sport, and to make a run at it 2 years from now to be a professional. What sport do you pick?
I would definitely play basketball, and I have the utmost confidence in myself that I could do it. And yeah, man, I wish you knew me, because you would know that in my mind I felt like I was just as good at basketball as I am at football, just a little undersized.
So what made you choose football? Just the fact that you were a little undersized on the floor?
Yeah, a little undersized. If I could have told you how the game was moving as far as people being positionless and size not meaning as much as it does or did before when I was growing up, I probably would still be playing basketball. But this is how the dice falls, and I'm super blessed to be in the position I'm in. So yeah.
Are you still a basketball junkie? You still watch a lot?
At heart, yeah. I mean, did you see Jimmy Butler last night, man? How can you not? It's poetry.
What was great? I mean, I'm curious because you bring it up, so I'm curious because I'm not a trash talk guy, and obviously I'm not I wasn't anywhere near good enough of an athlete to play at the level you play or the level that Jimmy Butler and in the NBA, for God's sake. But I was never a guy that wanted to talk a lot, and yet if you talked a lot to me, it motivated me. It got me fired up more than I was fired up if no one talked to me.
Right.
What was Grant Williams thinking? I mean, you've got them kind of down. You're winning the game. It's a critical game for Boston, right? It's you're down 1-0, you're at home. You cannot lose the first 2 games at home. And Jimmy Butler's a guy that you kind of know you don't want to turn him on. And Grant Williams gets in his face, and from that point forward, it was lights out. Jimmy Butler was the best player on the planet for a quarter and a half.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's a common theme, and it never goes right, in my opinion. For anybody, it never goes right. So I don't know why guys keep trying to get at elite players. I don't know, man. It's mind blowing. We saw the same thing with Memphis and Los Angeles and
Dillon Brooks.
So I don't know, man. I'm not a talker personally myself either, just because for the exact same reasons you're not. So, man, I don't know, but to see Jimmy just give him 3 in a row, it's just crazy. Like, it's so awesome for me to see guys get in that mode and just feel like everything's dropping, like he just can't miss, like just off one little spat between a guy. A guy like, what's his name?
Grant Williams.
Grant Williams too. I mean, he's a good defender and he plays hard, but that's Jimmy. I mean, you just can't deny that's Jimmy playoff buckets. Like I mean,
Eric Spoelstra said it the other day. He talked about Jimmy Butler being one of the best two-way, if not the best two-way players in the game, and he's fantastic. You just don't want to turn him on, and because he was having a good game, but he wasn't having an elite game. You don't want to go, hey, let's turn it up just in case. Just let a sleeping dog lie, right?
I don't know.
Who's your NBA team? Who's your NBA player? If there's one guy that you watch, league pass is on. Is there a guy that when he's on, you're if you got time, you're watching?
Well, you say I'm from the A, so I'm definitely a Hawks fan. But my favorite player is definitely KD. My favorite player is KD, but if I had to play like anybody in the league right now, I'll play like Michael Porter.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you watched the Nuggets play.
Oh, I've watched the Nuggets probably 50 times.
MPJ touched the rock, it's going up every time. Like it's like it could be 2, 3, 4 guys in his face. It's going up. The guy shoots with the most supreme confidence I've ever seen anybody shoot with. He does not pass the ball. I think it's so fun to watch, so fun to play. Kind of like Clay, that first year they won a championship in Golden State, where he just was a catch and shoot guy, and he just touched it. He didn't even dribble; it was just going up. So if I had to play, I'd definitely play like that. But KD's definitely my favorite player.
What NFL guys, if any, do you watch? Kind of looking for ways to I don't know, perfect your game, to shape your game.
I'm a big Armstead guy. I like Cam Jordan. I like Crosby. Long guys that are very versatile, rush everywhere, play everywhere on rundowns, kind of like me. So those are the kind of guys that I look at and think I can pull things from and learn things from. So yeah, those 3 guys right there.
We mentioned Dillon Brooks a little bit there. We talked about Grant Williams. I'm curious, on the football field, how much trash talk is there play to play, and then how much do you guys pay attention to what guys say in the week leading up to a game? Are you searching for bulletin board, if you will, motivation, or is that overplayed by us in the media?
Absolutely. So extremely overplayed, like so unbelievably overplayed, right? I don't talk any trash. Linemen especially really don't talk trash. I mean, we just are too tired to be talking like that. Plus, um, I mean, the people that talk the most trash are the I don't want to say least involved, but the least physically demanding positions, right? You're not going to talk trash if you and this guy are butting heads every single play, right? You just, it's a lot of times, people with a little distance from the action,
You
and
talk about wide receivers and corners now, right?
these skinny guys, they get the job, man. But those are the type of guys they are. They live life that way, and you kind of got to live life that way. As those type of guys, I guess, you got to have supreme confidence to be able to get bombed on and come back and defend a guy the next play. And as far as offense goes, those offensive guys, it's an offensive game today. These guys, the ball does something to you as a man. Having the ball in your hands, running with it. It's not. I wouldn't say it's poison. It's just I don't know. It just does something to you, man. Even when you see a defensive guy pick up a fumble or get a pick, looks like a totally different guy, right? The whole defense is acting totally different, trying to return that to the crib. You know what I'm saying? The ball just, it has that effect over people.
You went up against a couple of quarterbacks last year that got a lot of hype. Obviously, Bryce Young goes number 1 overall. Will Levis falls into the early part of the second round. What were your impressions of those guys?
Yeah, Bryce Young was a stud. We felt like we had them schematically, physically. We felt like we had them, and he was just making play after play, pulling them out of situation, breaking sacks, breaking tackles, extending plays, and he really was their heart and soul.
He kind of willed them to a win that day. He was amazing.
Yeah, he was really good that day. He was really good that day, and that was a classic game, I feel like. And another, situation like that I hit on earlier, where it's like nobody's looking at that loss. In the media, it's, oh, Alabama wins by the skin of their teeth and survives Ole Miss, right? But nobody talks about how well we played, or the fact that we held them to, like, I think 30 rushing yards and like one or two explosives that got them to 100 rushing yards, right? So it's like, nobody's going to talk about anything we did well in that game, and when you lose, you get swept under the rug. But hats off to Bryce and Coach Saban and their will to pull it out, and they know how to win in big games, and so good on them. But as far as Will Levis, yeah, he was, another super physically gifted kid. We had a great scheme going into that one as well, and then they also had that dude at running back. I can't remember his name. Was it
Rodriguez had come back?
Yeah, that was his first game back, so they were getting him super involved and passing a little bit less. So he's a good player, and I'm sure he'll be all right moving forward in the league. I think KJ Jefferson was another really good and underrated quarterback. Another story of the record that had him overlooked. I think he had, like, the year before I got to Ole Miss, I think he went for like 7 touchdowns rushing and throwing against Ole Miss, something crazy like that.
Yeah, it was that 52-51 game in Oxford. Yeah,
he's a dog. So I mean, I blew a sack that I remember. I had the guy in my hands and he got away from me. So yeah, him. Jaden Daniels was a really good player, composed, kind of just a straight look on his face type of guy through and through. And then I played with Jeff, good dude. unbelievably athletic. I wish him the best in Nebraska. So yeah, definitely played some guys at quarterback last year, and I'm definitely excited to, keep doing that and keep making plays on it.
Last couple things you mentioned Alabama. Is that a game you look forward to getting a shot at them in Tuscaloosa in September?
Absolutely. That's when we're gonna take a lot of emotion into that one. Feel like the check is coming due.
All right. Hey, I'm a big fan of yours. This was fun. I don't want to keep any more of your time. Tell the people one more time how they can get in touch with, learn more about the camp. Is there a site they can go to, that kind of thing, for the camp in Atlanta and also the one in Oxford?
Yeah, so the link to the camp is in my Instagram bio, Jared_Ivy15. It's also my Twitter bio, Jared_Ivy1595. You just click on that link, and it'll take you through all the steps you need to register. I really appreciate the support from you as well as the community. And yeah, this camp's about the kids. It's about the moms. We with Mother's Day just passing, we just want to take care of y'all and get y'all the information y'all need to be safe and be healthy. Yeah, I wouldn't be here today without my mom and all the sacrifices she made for me and the times where she put me above herself. And today or not today, but at these camps, we kind of want to reverse that. We want to, get you guys away from the kids and take care of you.
It's a great thing to do. I appreciate you spending some time with us and would love to have you on again.
Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks, Jared.
Jared Ivey there on the My Perfect Franchise hotline. Just an impressive guy. Jared there. Good stuff from him over the course of that 30 minutes or so.
Yeah, he's a great guy. When his people approached me about it, I was kind of laughed to myself. We just don't know the players the way that we used to back in the day. I'm not criticizing, just as things change. I'm not someone who's resistant to change. Change happens. But yeah, I was confident. I was like, yeah, we probably could do a really long segment with him. That'd be cool. Some of the guys, you just don't know them well enough to know whether you
can or can't.
I have no idea. Just don't know them. Whenever we get media time with him, he's
always good.
He's great. Yeah. The Bryce Young stuff is so fascinating to me. Like he didn't take a shot at Will Levis there at all. He was respectful. But obviously, Will Levis didn't impress him the way that Bryce Young did.
Well, Bryce Young won a football game
by himself.
If any other quarterback is on the field that day, Ole Miss beats Alabama.
Yeah.
Any quarterback.
Yeah, for sure.
College.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if anything, he was more impressed with Jaden Daniels, with KJ Jefferson, than he was with Levis. Yeah. So it was pretty interesting, but it's always
that good off-season perspective, too, that you wouldn't have gotten week after anyway because they're in the middle of the season. You got to let it marinate, let some of those guys get out of here.
Yeah, had to have some
he's
time
not an idiot.
Had to have some time to think about it, yeah.
Yeah.
But tells you a lot about why the Panthers were like, yeah, I know he's a little small. It's okay.
Yeah.
You got it.
Oh, he's a stud.
It's interesting confidence in their defense. I think he thinks they're going to be a little better on defense than maybe a lot of us believe. And then, the interesting part, and you picked up on it as it was going on, is these guys are in business, right? I mean, this is a big year for him to put tape on. He knows, like Miles Murphy, who just went in the first round. He's worked out with those guys. I mean, he's got that kind of talent. He's just got to it's got to come together for him this year. And if it does, I mean, he's got a real opportunity to have a decision to make at the end of the year and make a lot of money playing in 2024.
Mm-hmm. He had a little NBA there at the end with you. both series 3-0.
You could tell that Jared and I both watch a lot of NBA.
Yeah, that could have gotten way down the rabbit hole there if we're not careful.
We could have done 30 minutes of NBA. I could tell he was, you watch a lot of this too.
I was kind of not really paying attention. I sort of heard a few catchphrases and stuff he said. I went, oh, hold on. We got actual NBA knowledge here. We're not just hitting a couple high points. So I sort of locked back in a little as he was doing that.
Well, we taped this on Saturday morning, and on Friday night, the Jimmy Butler game had happened. And so I think one of the reasons he was a little sleepy there is he'd stayed up watching Heat Celtics, and I had as well. So we both, I think we both kind of perked up at that topic because it was pretty fresh what Jimmy Butler had done to the Celtics.
It's a really interesting thing because I saw the message board talking about it, and it was a topic that makes a ton of sense to me, and I appreciated a lot of the replies, and I sort of enjoyed reading it a little bit. Just the perspective of what's coming here, because you've got the Nuggets 3 up on the Lakers. It's over. And then the Celtics just being run out of the gym last night in Miami.
They quit.
128-102.
Celtics quit.
In a game where Butler was fine, but their top 3 point getters were all undrafted guys, role players, if you will. Gabe Vincent, Duncan Robinson, and Caleb Martin. They're getting 29, 22, and 18 for Miami last night.
I'd like to have Duncan Robinson's confidence just one day. One day. One day. 28 feet out, it's going up.
Yeah, he is not aware that he is an undrafted guy who
and he's apparently not aware of, hey, I missed my last 3.
Yeah.
Not even a moment.
They all go in.
Every shot's going in.
I don't know. I'm as casual as an NBA person as you can potentially be. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I'm right in the middle, and I'll watch it if I find it interesting. Sure. I have found myself as the playoffs have gone on. I went into the playoffs in the East being Sixers or Celtics. Kind of find myself usually pulling for Boston for a reason that doesn't make sense, but sure, whatever. And in the West, I started just for whatever reason. I like Jokic pulling for the Nuggets. Mm-hmm. No real reason. I sort of like, I've talked about this a lot. I like when a 1 seed and a team that is consistently great gets their title that they deserve. Yep. It's one of my sports quirks that I like is, we all love the underdog, but I like the team that is consistently great getting their championship. Always have. So I found myself kind of pulling for the Nuggets. Well, I mean, Miami is incredibly interesting. You got Butler doing everything Butler's doing. You got Spoelstra, who's maybe the best coach in the league. You have all these different things going.
Elite
from
culture.
That standpoint. Nuggets Heat, from a basketball standpoint, is a really interesting series in 1,000 different ways.
I can't wait.
But it's not Lakers Celtics, and I do think there are people out there who are more into the narrative than the play.
Yeah.
Where this is not the best thing for TV or ratings or, frankly, maybe even the NBA, even though, to me, I find it much more compelling than Boston-LA.
So it's probably not good for ratings. The TV people are probably a little nervous.
They can't, because the average fan can't name a Heat player outside of Jimmy Butler.
Right.
But frankly, probably Denver outside of him, depending on Murray.
But I think, I could be proven wrong, I think the people are going to find that if they give the basketball a chance, they're going to love it. And it's going to be for guys like me who love to watch it. I mean, I'll sit in here and work and turn on a game here and turn on a game there. And I love the league. And these are 2 of the teams that I really like to watch because of the way they play. I love what Denver's done. There was a story about the Nuggets after Game 3 where they were talking about how there were some moments in the last few years where they could have hit the panic button, the acceleration button. They could have traded Jamal Murray for a big name. And Michael Malone, the coach of the Nuggets, was like, no. Let's let this thing marinate the way it's supposed to. Let's basically follow the recipe. This is a slow cook. You could yank the heat up on it, right, and get the brisket done. Let it
wait through the stall.
Yeah, just chill. Just leave for a while. And that's where they are. And you've built this team now around Jokic, who's arguably the best player in the game, and Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., and they gambled on Michael Porter Jr.'s back. They were worried about his back, but they said, no, we love this player. We love what he brings, and we might have to manage his time a little bit at times, but we believe in him. And then if you look at their team, it's very similar to what Miami's done. They've built this deep, versatile bench. Malone's a great coach. Spoelstra's an elite culture builder. And you see it with Miami last night. I mean, Jimmy Butler actually looked a little tired.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're like, okay, cool. No big deal. I mean, I don't think Kyle Lowry gets anywhere near enough credit for what he's done, accepting a smaller role. I mean, Kyle Lowry was a superstar, really, in Toronto when they won a title. And, you know, Father Time has taken a bite out of him, and he's accepted a smaller role in Miami, and he plays well. I mean, Kevin Love's on that team. Kevin Love was kind of, his back flared up on him last night, and he went from playing a pretty big role in Game 2 to basically playing no role in Game 3. They're deep. They're talented, and it takes elite coaches to get professional players to embrace a smaller role for the betterment of the team. It makes sense. It's not criticizing. It's just those guys, to make it to the NBA, you have to be one of the best basketball players your town's ever seen, your school's ever seen. You don't just get a cup of coffee in the NBA. You got to be a good player.
And when you go roll, you don't get paid as much money.
No.
You're giving up money to do that.
So you have some older guys, Kevin Love, Kyle Lowry, who have been superstars before, gotten big max contracts, who are now playing for less and that kind of thing. And so you have to have high character people, and Butler doesn't get enough credit for his character. Everybody talks about his athleticism. Jimmy Butler's one of the nicest guys in the league, too. I mean, I don't know what the hell Grant Williams was thinking the other night. That was so stupid. I mean, I watched it going, what are you doing?
Do not do that.
What are you doing?
That's
But yeah, look, the Heat are an 8 seed. The Heat are the Heat are everything about like what people like me kind of talked about all year. When you talked NBA, I didn't do it here much, but when I talked to friends and stuff about it, I thought the league was deeper this year. There's just not many. There aren't many horrible teams. There's a few, but there aren't many. The league was pretty good. And they got hot, and they beat Milwaukee, and they beat the Knicks, and they're going to beat the Celtics. And I'm not counting them out against Denver, though Denver right now looks like a championship team.
They do. They look like they're just running through.
Because the Lakers were ready to go Game 3. I mean, that arena was crazy, and there was like this sense that this was going to be this big Hollywood moment. And the Nuggets just wouldn't let the Lakers do the Lakers thing. And it was fun. I mean, it was like watching it, but you kind of feel like you're watching a coronation.
I can get behind Heat or Nuggets winning. Frankly. Okay. I'm good. The Heat winning from the play-in game with the dominant superstar trying to get his ring, I can get behind that. I'm in.
Yeah, sure.
Might even pull for Miami, frankly.
No, Chet. My NBA stuff got really stirred up when my brother lived in Oklahoma City, and I got to go to a lot of Thunder games and just got into it. It was a lot of fun. The Cubs were shitty, and I watched a lot of NBA and got into it and really liked the product. It's a 2.5-hour product, and there are a bunch of good teams and a bunch of good players, and it's kind of fun to watch. And
good live game.
My son's into it. We enjoy going to games live. He gets really excited about it, so that's where that comes from. It has nothing to do with being a contrarian.
Melo, 19 seasons, officially announced retirement today. Not a shock by any stretch of the imagination, obviously. Finishes number 9 on the league scoring list. Never wins a title. Wins an NCAA title with Syracuse when he was there. Legacy just as one of the biggest scorers in history. I mean, that's where we are here, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
10-time All-Star.
It's hard to win a title.
Mm-hmm.
We can list a bunch of great players who didn't win a title. Karl Malone, John Stockton,
Dominique.
Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley never won a title.
Yeah.
There aren't 10 players in his era who were better than Charles Barkley. It's hard to win a title. I mean, especially when you played in an era when Michael Jordan and then Kobe Bryant dominated it. hard.
They took a lot of the titles is the problem. So
there's
there
only
aren't many
one.
left.
There's only one a year, and it's hard to get one. Great, elite scorer, one of the coolest people. I mean, he just oozes cool. Great, he was a great player. The whole not winning a title thing. It won't count against him. He's first ballot.
I guess he and Malone, the two most prolific scorers of all time without a title. Malone's like second all time in points or something. So yeah, I mean, or whatever. So
and if Michael Jordan's just mortal, Karl Malone probably has a couple of titles. But Jordan was not exactly mortal on the court. I mean, not to go down the whole Michael Jordan rabbit hole, but who knows if they don't have whatever you think happened where he took some time off. It's possible Hakeem Olajuwon never wins a title.
Oh, sure.
They got a couple right there.
Yeah. Yeah, they found a window.
Yeah.
There was a little window there. You better take advantage of at that point.
And they did. Yeah. Patrick Ewing never won a title. Played in a Game 7.
That was the 94.
Mm-hmm.
The day.
The day. Yeah.
The OJ, the Griffey, the Arnold Palmer, the ticker tape parade, the whole deal.
Yeah.
They should make a documentary about that.
They really should.
Should.
30 for 30 or something.
Yeah, big day. I know no one's watching, but the NHL Western Conference Finals has gone to overtime both games. Vegas wins both in overtime against Dallas here in just a hell of a series to date.
They've both been great series.
Yeah, no, I mean it's
Charles Barkley talking about Keith Kachuk and his son. Yeah, what's the son's name? The one that plays for the Panthers now.
I don't know. Was he really?
Yeah,
Barkley was talking about this?
Barkley was talking.
Really?
Apparently, he and the elder Kachuk are good friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, Charles Barkley. I just got to say this. Charles Barkley is a national treasure. That Inside the NBA show, even if you hate the NBA, you should watch the pre and post game. Those four guys together, that is an elite level of chemistry, and they're all so good. All four of them. Ernie Johnson and Shaq and Kenny Smith and Charles Barkley. That show is awesome. And Barkley's a treasure.
Did you watch any golf at all?
I saw the hole in one.
Michael Block, the club pro.
That storyline was really cool. Really cool. And then
he's now gotten 2 exemptions moving forward. He's in the Charles Schwab at Colonial and the RBC Canadian Open.
He's playing next week, right?
Yeah, this week in Fort Worth.
Their kid goes to TCU.
His boss's kid goes to TCU.
Oh, his boss's kid.
Yeah, because he's laughing. He was like, "Hey, can you tell my boss I need a week or whatever?" And he laughed. He goes, "No, his kid goes to TCU. We're good."
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm right on that.
And then I saw where what's his face? The one that everybody hates. He won.
Koepka.
Yeah, Brooks Koepka. I still haven't figured out why everyone hates him, but everyone seems to hate him. And
golfers don't like guys who don't take golf very seriously. That's part of it.
Okay.
He's a mercenary. He only shows up for the big events. Kind of like doesn't really have any interest otherwise.
He's really good.
Oh, he's exceptional. I mean, he's getting in really airified era, frankly. I mean, you look at it here. It's 5 majors now, 3 PGAs, no Masters, no U.S. Open. Has the U.S. Open? No British. But I found the thing here. I mean, legends. I mean, 5 or more majors since World War II. Brooks joining the list. Some of the names on this list: Seve Ballesteros, Phil Mickelson, Nick Faldo, Lee Trevino, Arnold Palmer, Sam Snead, Tom Watson, Gary Player, Ben Hogan, Tiger Woods, and Jack Nicklaus.
No.
I mean,
I'm not Mr. Golf, but I know every one of those names.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, here's one too. PGA, always kind of known as the last major for a lot of reasons. Club pros are playing in it. It's just sort of the 4th of the 4 for a lot of different reasons. But nothing but studs winning these things. The last 7 PGA champions: Justin Thomas, Brooks, Morikawa, Phil Mickelson, JT, Brooks.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a list. It's not like the hit and giggle guys coming in.
You're saying it's difficult to win a golf major?
I'm saying that, yes, majors are tough to win. Typically, the slap doesn't come in and take advantage of it for 72 holes. At some point, he becomes very, very mortal. Yeah.
Breaking news here on the show. Yeah, it's hard to win a championship, and it's hard to win a golf major.
It is.
There you go.
Yeah, his fifth major yesterday, tying Byron Nelson and Seve Ballesteros. And then if he gets one more, he ties Trevino, Faldo, and Mickelson.
So the knock on him is he just doesn't really seem to care that much.
Well, I mean, he's had his fight with DeChambeau. He went to live. Although he sort of walked that back now a little bit and said had he been healthy, he probably wouldn't have done it. That I think part of him went, hey, let's get some money because you don't know injury-wise what's coming here.
I get it.
He's obviously healthy now. Yeah, he's just sort of – I get it in a way why he's not liked. It also is the same thing we talk about all the time is if anybody's kind of different or contrarian or says things or whatever, we want to like lambast them. So going, thank God it's not everybody is this just all shucks. Great shot country club kid who we end up getting inundated with on the PGA Tour week after week after week after week. So no,
it's kind of like baseball relief pitchers. Yeah, they're all the same.
Koepka's a very, to me, he's very much a almost kind of a beloved villain a little bit. I mean, yeah, I'm completely fine with him.
Yeah,
he makes golf more interesting.
He does do that.
So make it interesting.
He does do that.
That's the answer.
I mean, I was watching a little of it on the treadmill yesterday. Obviously, you could tell that he was a big part of the storyline, and it was he absolutely makes it more interesting to guys like me who don't completely understand.
And there is something
drama.
That's not just hey, I don't care, and suddenly I care. The mentality of guys to be able to show up in the biggest tournaments. That's a mental thing. That's preparation. That's not cowering in a way that, frankly, has happened in a lot of ways. So, anyway, all right. Interesting Big Ten story from Pete Thamel. We'll talk about that tomorrow. So if you'd like to do a little homework, we'll hit that on maybe everything not so rosy in paradise there in the Big Ten. And
I hate to break it to people. This summer is going to have, not with us, just in general, there is going to be a lot of realignment talk.
Yeah. It's going to fill the next 90 days.
It's just right there.
Yeah. So
there's a story we'll tease it today, talk about tomorrow too. There's a story, I think it's The Athletic. I can't remember. Somebody wrote it. That the list of lawyers who have been in the ACC offices studying the grant of rights.
That's funny.
Is pretty intense. It's all pretty obvious what everyone's looking for.
Yeah. So, all right. Take care. rebelgrove.com. In the meantime, good bit of content over the weekend and this morning, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.